What do you love about music?
Everything.
I've always been inspired by the shapes and the silhouettes and the earthy, come what may attitude that came with the 70s. It has this sense of nostalgia. My name is Natalie Myers, and I'm an interior designer.
You're William Miller?
Yep.
Oh, baby.
Almost Famous begins with a montage which includes Polaroids, mementos, and concert ticket stubs from William's journey with the bands. They are a reference to how the story is going to unfold, the detailing that went into creating these little props and pieces really bring about the period that it was set in. As an audience, you need to believe the world that the characters are moving in and the world that it's set in, the time period, the season, the time of the year. And this is something that can be achieved through the furniture, the architecture of the spaces, and that is what the main design focus is. One of the themes that Cameron Crowe focuses on is friendship and camaraderie, and you feel that in this tour bus when you're with them, there's a lot of emotions that they hit when they're on the tour, stopping at all these multiple locations around the country. It was really important for the art department to get the feeling of being in a 1970s vintage tour bus right. They made sure the props were right, the set decoration, the lighting was really pinpointing to how musicians lived their life during that time period. Because there's a lot of storyline that takes place in the tour bus, it was really important to get that right.
When I watched it, it has this sense of nostalgia. I recently rewatched it with my daughter, and she was just as connected to it as I was 20 years ago. And I thought that that was like a special thing about the movie, that it could connect any generation to the story that happened in the 70s. There's just this sense of like heartwarming sweetness to it that just kind of spans all ages. I chose Almost Famous because I haven't seen a better coming-of-age tale yet. I had 2 weeks and a budget of $5,000. The concept was that it was like a hotel lobby. It's sexy, but in like a very naive, like earnest way.
Almost Famous has some of the most iconic soundtracks. The authenticity and the detail of how you were drawn into the world was something that was already relatable and that had happened in history.
For me, the 70s was just like a very forward-thinking time in design. The colors, just like the warm, earthy, like the avocados and the rusts and the mustards, like the frame of mind that designers were pushing themselves in during the 70s is just inspiring for like modern day designers.
While filming the movie, he has these mixtapes from the 1960s to the 1970s. He's able to kind of play and set the tone for each scene so they know what the actual tone of the scene is going to be.
When I was rewatching the film, I noticed that there's not a lot of interior sets, in that it's a very kinetic film. Like they're always moving from one place to the next, from like a show to the bus to the hotel. There wasn't as many references for settings as there was for their wardrobes and the clothes they wore. So a lot of like the colors and the materials that I selected for this scheme was more inspired by like what the characters were wearing. Penny with her like Sherpa jacket. All the girls, the Band-Aids, they'd wear like embroidered bohemian tops. So I tried to incorporate those kind of like fabrics and textiles into the scheme. So I was more watching what the characters were wearing. It just kind of invoked exactly the vibe that I was looking for. A lot of like local LA designers, we just call our style Californian or Californian cool, and like it is, but I think there's like different degrees of how you define Californian style. And for me, the Scandinavian style is more of like either like a European, like minimalist, Nordic aspect, but I love Japanese design. Like it's like heaven to me. An appreciation for those two schools of design, more textural and like slightly grungy, earthy feels. Like it's clean, it's minimalist, it's very thoughtful. There's an element of like earthy and like naturalness to it that just feels comfortable and just like not precious.
To really make a world that was set in the 70s believable was to get the feeling of the energy in a concert space. The rock and roll concerts at that time had a lot of energy, they had a lot of intensity, and people loved these musicians that were on stage and they wanted to be them, they worshiped them, and so to recreate that was really important to the design team. They went into creating that energy with the way the stage was set up, the lighting was set up. It intensified all the movements that the musicians were doing on stage and kind of made the audience believe it more. Penny Lane, one of the main characters, is wearing this green coat with a lot of fur on. And it actually is part of her personality where she's soft inside and she has this like protective layer outside, which is loud and extravagant. But really, truly, she's like a softer, more fragile person inside.
Part of the fun of shopping in real time is the joy of discovery. I was not planning on buying this chain candle holder, but when I saw it, I loved the height difference between the side table and the chain. Like, I like having your eye move across a vignette. We saw it, it was perfect. The budget was right, brought it home. Another item I got at Elementi was the Studio Pottery Bowl, which also was a great price point for a curated vintage item. It's actually from the 70s. There's a big scene towards the end of the movie, and she's wearing this really pretty Chinese dress with like embroidery. So when I saw the screen, it reminded me of her dress. I actually found it from a woman who was selling it from Facebook Marketplace. Her mother-in-law had traveled to China and picked it up from China and brought it back with her to LA. So it's just this like very authentic vintage piece that gives a sense of realness to the space.
Let's put all of it in the pot. It all depends on mystique.
This room is definitely a contemporary space. It's not a set piece. It's not a time capsule. It's set in the modern day, but clearly inspired by 70s. The deep burgundy color is called Lobby Scene, and I thought that was perfect for this energy I'm trying to create of like a hotel lobby lounge late at night that rock stars would hang out in with their friends and flirt with their groupies. It could also 100% be a modern day living room. The couch is obviously a major focal point of the room, the same way that Penny's jacket is almost a character in the movie. It's like her suit of armor. The sofa is like the suit of armor for the room. Penny talked a lot about going to Morocco. She kept asking William to come with her to Morocco. It's a Moroccan shag rug that's vintage from the 70s. So all the colors are those like nutty, toasty oatmeal colors that go really well with the 70s color scheme that we were after. A lot of people told me that their parents or grandparents had one of these like big, massive glass coffee tables. It's very like angular and rock star-ish, but at the end of the movie, William's story in the Rolling Stone was pretty brutal to the Stillwater Band, and like his words were very sharp, just like the base of the coffee table. The beginning of the movie, when William's sister departs the household and leaves behind her record collection to him, and she tells him, "This will change your life." And that was his connection, his bridge to like learning about rock and roll, falling in love with it, becoming a writer about rock and roll. So the records like had to be included. The lighting fixture, I feel like, is a more modern piece to bring in amongst all the vintage. It reminded me of Penny's like floopy hat at the end of the movie when she's buying her ticket at the airline to go to Morocco. And I was like, oh, that's perfect. That's Penny too. A lot of the pieces were basically inspired by Penny. I'm Natalie Myers, and that's how you style this.
Set me free, come on little girl. All you gotta do is set me free. Can't you see? Come on little girl. All you gotta do is set me free.